thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Super excited to kind of go through this presentation real quick to kind of show you how it all works at Floor Coding Marketers. Now, depending on what level you are in your business will really depend on some of this stuff and whether it makes sense to you or not. But I'm just going to do this one video to kind of give you an overall look at what it is that we do here. So in front of you, you see a graphic. It's called the Floor Coding Digital Dominance Method. What this is all about, it's really just designed to kind of break down our services and to kind of give you an idea of what it is that we provide. Because sometimes there's a lot of confusion. You know, do we do postcards? Do we do custom designs? Do we do a la carte kind of stuff? And in fact, we don't really do that. What we do is we try to determine in your discovery call what the best fit is, because otherwise you're going to end up spending money on things that may not be relevant, right? And we don't want that. So going through this digital dominance graph, I just want to kind of go through one of these one at a time just to kind of explain what it is. So the first one here is we want to really focus on, and this is why it's the first kind of priority, we want to focus on your website. We want it to be like your number one priority at the end of the day. Depending on what level of your business is, maybe you just decided that Facebook ads for now for some quick lead generation is the best solution for you. Maybe we're nearing the end of season, or maybe you're currently getting a website built. We still need leads coming in. Well, that's a really good strategy. And in fact, that's one that we definitely recommend. Could have even recommended it to you. So, but we definitely want to have a really good high converting website that loads really super fast and is built to drive that traffic into prospects, to turn them into customers, right? So that's kind of why it's on the number one priority list. Is at the end of the day, when you start getting some money coming in and you can afford a really good quality website, that's your number one, because this is the representation of your business online. And we'll get a little bit more in detail on that. The second thing is you want to start ranking in Google Maps, because if you ever go to Google and you search something online, what do you see? The first thing that pops up is Google Maps. So you want to be in that map pack. That's what they call it, the 3-pack. So we'll focus on an SEO strategy or a search engine optimization strategy to help you with what we was actually called local SEO. So that's another strategy that we use as well. And then of course, we want to get you found online, and that's you doing, search engine optimization. That's taking what we've just created, let's say your website, and trying to now get that to show up on the first page of Google. Because if you've ever searched on Google, there's hundreds of pages and there's hundreds of positions that you could be in, right? And so when you start getting into the first page, that's where all the companies are paying some other third-party company like my agency to get there. So there's a lot of competition, there's a lot of fighting for that position, right? So it gets pretty aggressive in that arena. So you want to have a strategy for that. Then of course, lead generation, as I just talked about with Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads, those are the three main pay-per-click or focuses that we have for lead generation, aside from the organic side. Then of course you want to get monthly reviews. You want to have this nice flow of reviews coming in. We actually have an automation software that we use to help with that. We'll get into that in a little bit as well. And of course we provide some social media management as well. And having that is also just kind of like SEO. It's a long-term strategy, but in time, you start to get more likes, more follows, more people starting to engage with your social media, which inevitably means they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to go to your website, or they're going to search for you online. So you want to have some kind of strategy going for that. And then going back to this lead automation, you want to have a place where you can take all these leads that are coming in and have a nice organized way of managing those so that everyone gets follow-ups, phone calls. You can take notes, you can assign tasks, you can have some automated automated follow-up going through. Very important. And then of course, with everything that you're doing, you want to track everything, right? Because if you're not tracking anything, you're not going to know where to go. What gets measured gets done. So again, it all starts with your website. And as we talked about briefly, you want to have, like typically you'll see, a lot of websites will only have 3 to 5 pages, right? But really what you want to do is, and those 3 to 5 pages are homepage, contact us, estimate page maybe, or about us, maybe a gallery, something like that. But really what you want to do is you want to have pages for every single service that you provide. And then you want to have pages for each city that you serve. And if it's really competitive, you might want to have pages for every service and city, right? So it can get pretty aggressive there. So that's one way you can do that. You can do proper optimization. You need to have title tags, H1 tags, unique content, etc., and start with strong conversion elements, right? And we'll talk a little bit more in detail with that as well. Of course, you want to do some really good keyword research as well. Some of this isn't exactly that great. I just pulled some stuff from online, but you really want to be looking at what is it that your prospects are searching for, and how am I able to get those prospects to contact us, right? And so you want to have a good strategy for that. So the other thing is like we talked about, as you see here, every single service that you provide has a page, right? You want to make sure that the title tag, you want to make sure that that is organized properly. Does it say the right things? Does it have the right keyword in there, right? Is the description of the website outlined the way it's supposed to be? So if you were to go to Garage for Coding, just for a quick example, which you probably won't be able to see, but it'll basically, when you go to Google, you'll see the description of the listing underneath. That description has to be engaging. You have to try to get them to get in touch with you. So that needs to be there. You need to have your keywords in there as well, right? The heading as well needs to be the right keyword. So that's kind of how that works, right? Just kind of a quick gist on how all that plays out. So you want to optimize all the pages for conversions, because if you don't, all this traffic, they're just going to go somewhere else. If when they land on your website, it doesn't make any sense, or they are finding it very difficult to navigate or contact you, that's going to be a problem. In 2021 and 2022, the reality is that a majority of the users online have been on some pretty nice websites, and these websites typically will follow conventions of how a website is designed. So if you have some reversed stuff in there, trying to get all fancy and pretty and trying to do things different, that's going to do the opposite of what you want. Some things like having a really large logo in the middle, or a slider images going on your website, which used to be okay, but it makes your website load really slow. And other things like having the phone number on the left and the logo on the right. It's just not the proper conventions of how you want to build a website. And 82% use mobile, right? So is your website built and designed to look good on mobile? Because actually Google has their crawlbots have the ability to really check and see if everything is laid out the way it's supposed to. Can they click the buttons? Are the buttons too close together? Are the words, are they legible? And so the crawlbots can see that, and you'll be graded accordingly. And if it's not doing well, you will get devalued, is what they call that. So then going back to maps, you want to make sure that you've claimed the business, right? So you got to set up the account, you got to claim the business first, and then Google will actually send you a postcard in the mail with a code on it. And once you get that code, you want to verify the business, and that will get your map listing showing on Google My Business, right? It may not get you right at the top as much as you'd love to have that, but the ones that are going to start ranking on their top are the ones who are constantly active in their Google My Business. So they're uploading pictures, they're doing posts, they're doing a lot of different things in there, they're getting reviews. Those are the top 3 things that you want to be focusing on with your Google My Business, which is now going to be called Google Business Profile. That's the new name, which is probably the 8th time now in 10 years that they've changed the name, but that's now what it's called, Google Business Profile. So you want to make sure that that's all set up properly. You want to be building authority for your brand and creating links, like backlinks coming to your website. So what is a backlink? Backlink is, if I had a blog somewhere else, let's say I own a manufacturer of epoxy, right? And I'm talking about something specifically and locally, and I know that there is a local garage floor coating company that I want to reference because they do a fantastic job, I will link their website on my blog. That's called a backlink. So you want to be able to reach out to people like that and say, hey, listen, can you maybe we can work out some kind of a deal and you can put a link on your website for me. A lot of different things that you can do. Building relationships in that way is probably the best way to get really good links, but that will really help rank your website a lot faster because those are really hard to get. But I will say one thing, do not go out and go to some VA, place like Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, and start hiring companies or people who will say that they can get you thousands of backlinks, because those are all bad, spammy backlinks. And there's a new algorithm update that came out recently that will penalize websites that have that problem. So it's not about how many links you have coming to your website, it's about the quality of the link. If they're spammy, it'll actually devalue your website and you will be knocked down in positions. All right. This is an interesting little web of things going on here. So what this is another way that you can actually get links and authority built up for most specifically local SEO. So your Google My Business and your website as well, especially if it's pertaining to your location pages and things like that. But what this is it's a local search ecosystem. So there's a lot of data aggregators out there that have your information. So let's say you sign up for a directory called Foursquare or even like BBB or Yelp. They're all tied into this big, huge directory that you see in front of us, right? And they all share data with each other, right? And the reason why it's important is because it keeps everything congruent. So if you put in your business name and your phone number and your address in these directories, then what happens is they will spit that out through API keys and different connectivities and make sure that everyone else has the exact same information. If things are all, let's say you moved 3 years ago and half of your directories have different addresses and stuff on there, when Google crawls your domain, your business, whatever it is, they're going to get confused and not know which location you are from or if it's accurate enough. So that at that point, if someone else has already shown that they have a much bigger authority and they're much more clean and congruent across the board, then they're going to rank them over you. So you want to make sure that this is all set up in a really good fashion. It does take a lot of work, and it can take a few months to get that done, by the way. The other thing that we do is competitive research. So we go and check out what your competitors are doing. If they're ranked at the top position, why? Why are they there? What is it that they're doing on their website that maybe we could do better, right? So we would take a look at that. The biggest thing is content. What we put in your website and how we talk about things on your website, not keyword stuffing, but we're actually having a decent conversation with your prospect as they're reading and scanning your website. Is it engaging? Does it talk about the right things, right? So if you have a location page, let's say Cincinnati, concrete coating in Cincinnati, the things you want to do is you want to talk about Cincinnati. You want maybe some areas in Cincinnati that are really popular or that are close to your location that you could recommend as a brief paragraph, and then tie that into concrete coating, right? And so that's kind of a strategy that works really well. Google loves it because they can tie the two together, and then they will know that you do concrete coating in Cincinnati. So that's kind of how the website side of it works, ranking on Google Maps works, and getting found online. So we basically right now have covered these three right here. The next thing we want to also talk about is your Google Ads. That's another strategy that works really effective. Depending on the time of the year, sometimes you get better, sometimes you get lower results. And with Google Ads, you want to look at it as like people are searching for your service. So if you're not getting a lot of results on your website, maybe Google Ads isn't necessarily a good thing to start with, but it has been known to convert very well. As you can see, we have conversion rates of 15%, and your lead costs are about $40, and that's in their peak season, right? So, but in low season, when it's slower, it gets a little bit more difficult to try to get these leads because not everybody is searching for that right now, right? So in this case, the time that I did this video is, December 6th. We're in December, so everybody's thinking about Christmas, and they just finished Thanksgiving, and now there's snow on the ground in some places, and it all really depends on what's going on. In other areas of the country, this could be the busy season, so it could be a very valuable tool, a very valuable means of getting leads. So it's definitely worth having that conversation and researching it out. So that's number 4. And then the 5th one, of course, is monthly reviews. Actually, we'll go over to, this is still number 4, lead generation, my apologies. And so here's another one. So there's 3 different strategies that we like to use. We use messenger campaigns. So a lot of times what we'll do is if you have a really nice post that's on your Facebook page, that's doing really well. We see some hearts and some engagement there. People are kind of really enjoying it. You're taking some excellent photos, some close-up photos, and some far back photos, before and afters, and people are really enjoying that. Then we want to boost that post, and then they can message you for how much does it cost, asking you questions. A lot of it is I just want to know how much it is, right? So you need to have a strategy to be able to handle that as well. There's also lead form ads, which is another good strategy. But personally, I like sending them to landing pages, which we build out. It's all included, right? None of this stuff is an extra cost, right? So we build this all out. And as you can see, we can get leads for pretty reasonable, $34, give or take. Anything under 40 is really nice. But what I like about those is they're much higher quality leads because we have to try to give them a little bit of push, right? They have to go through a little bit of work. We're kind of vetting them out in this way, make them go through a little bit of work to be able to contact you to some degree, right? And so by that, I mean, they have to click the quote button and go to a landing page, wait for it to load, read what's in there, watch a video, and then if they fill out that form or call you, chances are they're really high purchase intent, right? And those are the ones that you want. So that's the consistent lead generation. A lot of times, depending on your budget and where you're at with your business, if you have the budget for it, we would build out a website, and as soon as that is done, we would work on your SEO. But while all this is going on in tandem, we have already built out your lead generation strategy. So that is the first thing that actually happens, is the lead generation while we're doing this, right? So that's kind of happening in tandem. So leads are still coming in, we're building out your website, we're getting you ranked on Google Maps, right? And so the big thing here, aside from that, is we want to manage your social media profile as well. It's not a priority, but it's something that we do provide in case you just don't know how or don't have the time to do it. We research all your hashtags. We want to make sure we're using the right hashtags. And think of hashtags like folders, right? So your posts are going to be kind of categorized in a specific way. So when somebody does use Facebook search or they're looking for things on Instagram, we want to be ranking in those areas, right? We want to be ranking on people's news feeds or on Instagram, right? And so hashtags really, really help with that. And so that's a really important strategy to use as well. There's also other areas. There's Twitter and there's LinkedIn that we'll also manage as well. There's also YouTube that we can do some stuff with that. So that's kind of how that one works. But, at the end of the day, you still need a place, to be able to store all these leads. Where is all this leads going and how do I manage it all? And a lot of service businesses, you probably as well, have a CRM of some kind. But I've noticed that a lot of these CRMs don't have a really good automation process. So you want to be able to build out a follow-up sequence that's longer than just that one responder email that they got when they filled out the form. You want to be able to put them in some kind of a sequence where they're constantly being, just reached out to, right? Almost every single day, until by the time you go out and do the estimate, they're already fully knowledgeable about your product and your service, because we're dripping them emails about, here's the top 10 questions that people ask about coding products. Can you slip and fall on it, and all these different things. And we'll build out a document that actually will answer those questions that we can send them in an email. We also do a variety of other documents that's all included in our service, right? We provide all this to really help increase those conversions. So at the end of the day, the concept here is to make you the red shirt in a sea of gray shirts, right? We want you to be able to stand out from everyone else so that your business isn't commoditized. So here's a perfect example of what we would do. We'd have a pipeline in here, and you can actually take leads that come in from the form submission into here, or you could put them in manually. And then as you go through the process, you can organize your leads as they go through. Every time we move from one stage to the next, it triggers a new sequence of follow-up, emails, text messages, voicemail bombs, with documents and everything else that we create for you, right? And you have the ability to organize all of your leads through here, right? So that's one of the nice things about having a CRM, is that it will dramatically increase your conversion rates, because then you have follow-up. You're in their inbox all the time. Even if they have to go into the inbox and delete it, they still see your name. And that's all that matters. We want to get to the point where it's either yes or no, right? Not maybe, or you don't hear from them, or none of that stuff. We want to have it so it's either a yes or a no, so that we can just keep the funnel going, right? So that's one of the advantages of using a CRM as well as Lead Crusher from us. Like, this is something we have. Then, this will really help you stay, on top of everything. So in addition to that, you can always create new things as well, like newsletters every single month. Send out a quick email to everyone that's ever filled out a lead or been in your world, right? Keep them in the loop about what's going on, because a lot of times it's not no, it's just not now. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's all part of how our digital dominance system works. And of course, we're talking about social media. We really want to make sure that you take a look at that as well, because there is so many people on social media. Not taking advantage of that would be kind of sad a little bit, right? Because there is opportunity there to make some more money. And of course, we do things like set up a chatbot as well, just another way for them to reach you. But inevitably, at the end of the day, what we want to look at is, can we track and measure all of this stuff? Because maybe some things aren't working here or there, or maybe we have a seasonality that you're unaware of. Maybe you thought a lot of your leads coming in were organic, but they were coming from Google My Business, or maybe they were coming from a Google ad, right? So these are very important metrics that you want to be able to track, because if you ever want to get to another level, you're going to need to be able to quantify your results. You want to be able to take everything that we've measured and double down on the things that are actually working and go from there. So I hope that really helps you kind of understand what we're trying to accomplish here at Flow Quoting Marketers. There are multiple phases of strategies that you can do depending on what level you are in your business. Maybe you're just going to do Facebook ads for now, just to, because you're just starting out. Maybe you're only 6 months old, or maybe you've transitioned from concrete stamping or a pressure washing company, landscaping company, into here, and you have the extra capital to be able to dump into marketing. Well, then you definitely want to get into the SEO and the website stuff, because it's a long-term strategy. It still could take 6 months for your website to start to rank in the top positions, depending on your service area, depending on your competition, depending on the population that you serve. There's many different variables involved there. So feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions to what I was just talking about. Be happy to answer any other questions pertaining to any of the things that we provide. Hope you're having a great day.